Hey everybody, I hope that you are doing well today. My name is Steven and I'm with the Junior Achievement Team. Welcome to Lesson 4 of JA Economics for Success. This is for our middle school students. This is the final lesson, so congratulations. We've had a lot of fun with you guys in the past 3 lessons, so let's do a little bit of a recap. In session number 1, we learned more about self-knowledge. The things that we like and dislike really help us make decisions for our financial future. Lesson number 2, we learned about goals and how we can take necessary steps into achieving our career goal. Lesson number 3 was keeping our balance, understanding that there are decisions that need to be made. Sometimes the more money we spend in one category, it means that we need to spend less money on another category. And then this week, lesson number 4, super excited. This is called Savvy Shopper. Overall, y'all, we need to be wise with our money. That's what lesson 4 is, and really understanding what type of methods of payments we can really use. So what you need for this specific lesson, lesson number 4, is pretty simple. Just access to a computer, and then also our costs and benefits handout as found on www.janfl.org. Don't worry, I'll be sure to provide instructions on how to access that document later in the lesson, all right? So, very first part of this lesson, I'm going to ask you guys this question. What are some ways your parents or guardians pay for everyday goods and services? Middle school students, think about that. What are some ways your parents or guardians pay for everyday goods and services? Some may say cash. Some may say check, if you do know what a check is. Others, Apple Pay, that's becoming the payment of the future. And then also we have credit and also debit cards. This is what we are going to be focusing on today, is debit and credit cards. Do you guys know the difference? Think about it right now. What do you know is the difference between debit card and credit card? Truly, if you do know, that's going to help us make some wise money decisions, all right? So just to help us kind of get a gauge of where you guys are at, I'm going to play the game with y'all. It's pretty much just true and false statements. I'm going to show some various statements up on the screen, and you can give a thumbs up if it's true or a thumbs down if it is false, all right? So the very first statement, all right, here we go. True or false? Credit is an invention of the 21st century. Credit is an invention of the 21st century. Is this true or false? What is it? Here we go. Drum roll, please. It is false. The Babylonians extended credit several thousand years ago. That's crazy. They used clay tablets. And the first credit cards for specific stores appeared in the US in the 1920s, and the first worldwide credit cards in 1950. So way to go if you said false for that very first statement. Credit was created a long time ago. Here we go. Our next statement. True or false? With a debit card, you'll get a bill for your purchases at the end of the month. Is that true or false? With a debit card, you'll get a bill for your purchases at the end of the month. That statement is false. You would receive a bill for your credit card purchases, but not your debit card purchases. So that is false. You will not receive a statement for your debit, but only your credit, all right? So let's keep on going. Our next statement, hopefully you guys are doing pretty well so far, or at least that you're learning something new about debit and credit cards. True or false? The Credit Card Act of 2009 requires students younger than 21 to have a cosigner unless they have enough income to get their own card. Now, let's think about this context. Just a year before, the world went through a great recession. Is this true or false? They want to create some standards for people who get a credit card? True or false? Here we go. It is true. To make sure that people are wise with their money, this act forced students to be held accountable. Way to go if you said that statement was true. All right, here we go. True or false? The bank likes me. There's no penalty if I miss a credit card payment. True or false? Here we go. I think they like me. We'll see. Maybe they won't do it. False. I'm sorry. As much as that customer service agent might like you, the bank as a whole, they don't like it if you do not pay on time. Late fees always apply. Paying late may also trigger an increase in your interest rate and hurt your chances of getting credit later. So we have to make sure that we pay off our credit card, all right? And then here we go. Next statement is APR is a credit term acronym that stands for annual precipitation rate. Interesting, a lot of big words here. APR is a credit term acronym that stands for annual precipitation rate. True or false? The answer is false. APR stands for annual percentage rate, the interest rate paid each month on unpaid balances. So it's not annual precipitation rate, it's annual percentage rate, talking about how much interest that you owe on a month-to-month basis, all right? Our next statement, and also last statement, taking personal responsibility for how I use my credit and debit card is important to my financial plan. I think we can all agree together that this statement is true. We all need to be responsible on how we spend our money, all right? So I hope that you guys learned a little bit about debit cards and credit cards. And our next activity, I'm super pumped for this one because y'all, guess what? It's story time with Steve. So go ahead, get ready for some story time. We're gonna talk more about credit and debit. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. My name is Steve, and welcome to Story Time with Steve. Today's novel is about credit and debit cards. Let's begin. Let's talk about credit and debit cards. Both are used in place of cash for things you buy. Both are convenient and accepted almost everywhere. Both are made of plastic, and both offer fraud protection and security when compared to cash. But do you really know the advantages and disadvantages of either one? What makes them different from one another? And when to use them? Now, let's say that you stop to get a cup of coffee because it's been a long, long day. And the cashier asks, credit or debit? It's a question we hear almost every day, but don't really think about it that much. Which one to choose? What's the difference between the two? And why is it so important to know? Let's look at the pros and cons of both. First, we have the debit card. Now, it's linked to your bank account, so the money you spend with your debit card comes straight from your personal checking and savings account. It's honestly a lot like using cash, except it's more convenient because you don't even have to carry cash. Plus, it's a great way of tracking of what you spend. You can review your transactions online or check your balances at the ATM. Now, speaking of ATMs, let's say you need some cash. Well, your debit card is combined with your ATM card, meaning if you have money in your account, you can get cash wherever there is an ATM. But make sure to avoid ATM fees by using your own bank's ATM. Now, another plus is that even stores allow you to take cash out at the register. All you have to do is use your PIN. But wait, what if you leave your card at the register? Or if it falls out of your pocket and someone picks it up? Can they just pick it up and draw out cash? Well, thanks to your PIN number, most likely they cannot. Your PIN is an ID code, often 4 numbers, that adds a layer of security, making it difficult for anyone to access your money. Don't give it to anyone. Now, let's say someone uses it and your PIN is not required. Thankfully, there is fraud protection in place with debit cards to help prevent something like this from occurring. Now, one last pro of these debit cards is that you do not have to pay interest. That's right, no interest, like you would have to on a credit card. Now, interest specifically is a charge for a loan, usually expressed as a percentage. With a debit card, you do not have interest. How wonderful. So the pros for our debit card: they're convenient, they're secure, and they're interest-free. And people find it easier to keep it with a budget. But the cons: your card can get declined. This is when you do not have enough money in your account. It happens to the best of us, that's right. It happens to the best of us, and it can be surely frustrating. However, it does prevent us from spending too much money that we do not have. Now, on to credit cards. Some people refer them as short-term loans because essentially you are borrowing money from a bank or card issuer to pay for your purchase. And when it comes to that time to pay and you carry that balance from one bill to the next, then you will need to pay interest. Interest. Now, in addition to making everyday purchases, a credit card can come in handy in emergency situations when you are short on cash. Here's the story. You're stranded, for my hat, on the side of the road because a pothole took out a couple of your tires. Gasp! Both are completely ruined. You don't have enough cash. What a wonderful thing that you now have a credit card. You can pay for the tow and also the new tires. But remember, you need to pay it back. My hat just fell off. Now, speaking of payment, when you pay your balance on time, good things can, of course, happen to your credit. If you pay on time, you stay within the limit the bank tells you, and even pay more than the minimum required, you can improve your credit. This might even qualify you for lower interest rates on loans, credit cards, which is wonderful, especially if you want to buy a house or even buy a car and get an auto loan. My hat. Let's move along. Now, lots of credit cards come with extra perks too, like a grace period where you can purchase items without the threat of interest as long as your balance is paid, or even reward points such as airline miles, hotel stays, or cash back. How wonderful. But what if someone grabs hold of your credit card? Often a PIN is not required. However, with fraud protection, you still would not be liable for their purchases. How grand. Now there are some cons, my friends. There are some cons. This happens when you do not use your card responsibly. Like when you miss a payment and you'll be hit with a late fee, causing your credit score to decrease. You also don't want to go over your credit card's limit because if you do, there will be fees. And of course, my friends, you do not want to get stuck with overspending. Remember, our income must be greater than our expenses. If you spend more than what you have and are unable to pay, you will have unnecessary debt, a massive mountain, a hard hole to get out. So friends, you're up to make a decision. We have a debit card, which is a card that pays for a purchase directly from a checking account. And then also a credit card, a card that allows users to make purchases through a limited personal loan with the expectation that the money will be repaid at a later date, often with interest. So the choice is yours. Are you going to pay with that latte with a credit card or a debit card? It's up to you. Thank you. Wow, that story time was unbelievable. Steve was dynamic in sharing about the difference between debit and credit cards. While they're both plastic and convenient, boy, there are some differences. Debit card comes straight from your checking account, while credit card, you're loaning it from a bank or a card issuer. And most likely, if you don't pay it back on time, then boy, that interest will come back to haunt you. So, friends, what's next is a really great activity, kind of recapping everything that we've learned about credit and debit cards. So what I want y'all to do is to go ahead and go to www.janfl.org. www.janfl.org. It's going to go ahead and bring you to this site. Let me go ahead and bring this site up for y'all. So with your computer, type in www.janfl.org. And it'll bring you to this site. As you can see, there is a large yellow banner with the words that says click here. Go ahead and click here. It will bring you to a whole new page. We're going to let that load. We'll bring you to this page. What I want y'all to do is to scroll a little bit to the bottom where it says Instagram Live Learning. You can click View Schedule. And then we'll bring you to this next page where the final week, week 4, financial literacy, where it says middle school, costs and benefits of debit/credit cards. click on that sheet and it will bring you straight to this sheet. The Better Money Habits Middle School Lesson. Credit and debit, two very different cards. So for this activity, what I want you to do on your own, with a classmate, is to read the following statements about credit and debit cards. Based on what you learned during the story time, I want you to go ahead and put an X in the appropriate column after the statement. Is this used for debit or credit cards, or is it used for both? And then we can see if it's a negative or a benefit. So for the very first one, we can do that together. Money is borrowed and repaid at a later date. Based on what we learned with story time with Steve, is that money is only borrowed on a credit card. We are provided a loan, a temporary loan, from a bank or a card issuer. So what you would need to do, you could mark that with an X, because that's specifically for a credit card. Now, is it a cost? Is it a benefit? It's really not applicable because you are just borrowing the money. Okay, for this next one, money is automatically taken out of a checking or savings account. Remember the story, your debit card is specifically linked to your account. So every single time that you use that debit card, your money is taken out immediately. So we would go ahead and mark X next to debit card. And once again, not a cost, not a benefit. It's just a moot point. So friends, what I want you to do is to go ahead and work through this handout. And the wonderful thing on page number 2, scroll all the way down, is go ahead and making a Venn diagram. So these are the comparisons, the contrast to each one. On the left side is the credit card, where you'd put all the things applicable from part A of our activity. You put all the things specific to a credit card on the left side. For a debit card, all the things specific for a debit card on the right side, writing out those statements. And in the middle, if they apply to both, then you would put that statement in the middle right there. From what you learned with Storytime with Steve, this will absolutely help you understand the difference between credit cards and also debit cards. So my friends, I've had an absolutely wonderful time with you guys. Make sure to continue following Junior Achievement of North Florida on our Instagram at JA North Florida. We're going to continue to be doing live lessons on Instagram every Tuesday through Thursday, as long as the school year is in session. We also have some wonderful resources for y'all at www.janfl.org. This is for parents, this is for educators, this is for students. So we are so honored to partner with you guys. We surely do miss you. Hopefully you have learned something valuable about financial literacy and being wise with your money. Thanks again, students. We'll see ya.